Now, live from Rogers, Arkansas, watching the Ozark skies from Walton and Walnut. To Vanderbilt and the Fort. Here's the whiz of Oz weather, Garrett Lewis.
Folks, it is June 3rd, coming up on 7:41 this evening, and we got a line of storms out there. I want to get right to the radar and show you what's going on, and then we're going to talk about what's happening and then what happens next. So here's the line of storms. Let me back out of this thing. You can see them traveling to the north and to the northeast. There have been a few tornado warnings. In fact, I think a tornado probably did touch down out around Norman earlier. This is the higher risk area, though. As the storms move east, they're going to move into an area that's less favorable for severe storms. As a matter of fact, let me show you what that looks like. This is the severe weather risk outlook for tonight. This goes from now to tomorrow morning about 7, but really I think the key time frame to watch for us is about 9:30 to about 11:30 for up and down the I-49 corridor. So it's going to be late this evening when it moves in, and I do expect at least a little bit of a weakening trend as it moves east and moves off of that front, which is just out towards the west. So as it stands now, these storms are running north and south, looking just south of Tulsa here, out towards Okmulgee. Again, northeast at 45. That puts those storms somewhere in Rogers and Fayetteville, right about, I would say 9:45, 9:30. It's going to be closer to 10, maybe 10:30 for Fort Smith. We'll still get that line of storms that's moving in, though. So the whole line of showers and storms is tracking towards the east. I think another radar source may show you just a little better here. This is a wide view showing the showers and storms tracking east. I've got it on a composite view just to show you the extended nature of this thing. This line goes from, look at this, isn't this nuts? So this line goes from like Great Lakes back down through Illinois. Some tornado warnings just popped up there near Cedar Rapids, through central Missouri, and then gets into Oklahoma. Now, the one thing I wanted to show you here in Oklahoma, though, is look at the amount of warnings. There's not a lot of them. The whole line's not lit up with severe thunderstorm warnings. This is not a high-end severe thunderstorm risk like what we've seen in the past and what we typically see in May. There is a severe risk, and there's a tornado risk with it as well. The one big warning that's out right now is the one that includes Broken Arrow, Muskogee. That's the one that probably gets into Bentonville, Fayetteville, and Springdale around that 9:45, 10 o'clock time frame. And then those storms that are down there around McAllister probably get into Fort Smith about 2 hours from now, 2.5 hours, but closer to about 10, 10:30, somewhere around there. And they're moving to the northeast as well. So that whole line is going to be tracking northeast. The main threat with this is damaging winds. What I've seen, though, with these storms, there's been a little pop-up, a little spin-up tornadoes from time to time. I don't think that's going to happen with this line, though, later, just because of the weakening trend and the amount of shear in the atmosphere weakens as you move east. I will give you a heads up, though. I was looking at the overnight forecast coming up later on in the forecast period here, specifically for Wednesday night to Thursday morning, and then possibly even coming up again on Thursday night to Friday. These complexes develop out there in Kansas and Colorado, and then they start taking a run southeast. Those are the ones that wake us up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I do think we're in for some of those coming up. If we're lucky, we'll catch it in the morning drive, and that's really best case scenario, and that still kind of sucks to be out there early in the day like that. All right, so let's take a look at what is happening now. So we have the cloud cover that moved in. You probably noticed that high canopy of clouds. That canopy of clouds probably did limit the amount of any pop-up storms today. It's starting to feel sticky now. You guys just wait. It's going to feel gross by tomorrow afternoon. We got a lot more humidity. And then the front moves in, presses the humidity for a little bit, and then it comes back. So we're really into an active pattern here with more of these nocturnal complexes that move in during the overnight and early evening hours. But you can see those clouds that are out there now, already out there, and expected to hang around for a little bit. We had a nice weekend, but it looks like the sunshine is certainly going to be limited here for the next few days or so. So here's where the front is. The front is in central northwest Oklahoma. It doesn't have a good shove to move it through. That's the problem. So it moves in. These storms move off of the front. That's why you're seeing somewhat of a weakening trend. And then that should continue to move to the northeast. Because northwest Arkansas is closer to the front than Fort Smith, I think the severe risk is higher, and the tornado risk is just a little smidgen higher. The Storm Prediction Center reflects this pretty well on their graphic. You can kind of see how it's lined up there with where the front's lined up there from from parts of Oklahoma and then back into Arkansas, and then also into Missouri. So all that to say, what happens next, right? Let's see if we can get a feel for what's happening over the next few hours. We know the line is here. Let me switch it over to here and see if we can pull that up. There we go. So this is the simulated radar data for where we are now, and then here's where we're going. You can see the line making its way in. The data does suggest that the storms do get into the area this evening, somewhere close to about 10 o'clock or so, 10, 11, then move out pretty quick. As the front stall, see how they just kind of fall apart? Blech. Not much there. By the way, this is 7 in the morning, and there's still a chance of some rain early in the day. And as the front stalls, you're going to get stuff just bubbling. See it? I mean, this is what are we at here? This is almost noon or so, late morning. So you get the main push of the line tonight about 10 or 11, and then it settles down, and then we get these little popcorn showers here and there. They're not being driven by daytime heating. There's just a tremendous amount of instability interacting with the moisture and the front, which is situated right over northwest Arkansas from about, well, north central Arkansas from just east of Harrison through probably Fort Smith, and then into southeast Oklahoma, some scattered showers that are there. But the main point of showing this is here's the line. It does get here tonight. It'll be loud, but again, going back to what we were just talking about, it's not like this whole thing is lit up with storms, severe weather all over the place. It's not a super high risk. Although I know it's probably a super severe impact mega alert day on the TVs, but really it's really just the summertime line of storms, and we're going to get more of them for the next couple of days in the overnight, early morning hours. I do see a storm report that just popped up. That's where is this? Looks like it's going to be. I'm going to botch the name, y'all. Pontotoc, Pontoc. Someone's going to email. One northeast of Ada. I can say Ada a little bit easier because it's just 3 letters. But that's actually down to the southeast. See the little wind icon there? But that makes sense because there's actually been a tornado warning on this storm. There still is near Atoka. Let's just look inside this little sucker and see what it looks like, huh? Let's see here. So yeah, there's some rotation in it. Looks like there's damaging wind threats outside of the warning though, out towards Wapanucka. Hey, that's Tishmingo though. I know that one. Anyway, so that's all going to move towards the north, up towards Kiowa, and eventually get into Hartshorn, and then McCurtain, and then Fort Smith later on this evening. And then the storms. Ooh, look at that wind. Do you guys see that? Hang on, let me get this one set back up for you here. Well, we got some wind in that bad boy. Let's see how that's tracking. A couple areas of wind. You can see one to the south too. So you have one to the north and one to the south. Um, with that line that's tracking east, I'd be curious to see what happens down here if we get another warning that's a little farther south. Could be something interesting to watch too as it moves through. By the way, Tulsa was under a tornado warning. I didn't see if that one actually had a tornado debris signature on it or not. But there's nothing, at least in northeast Oklahoma and Green Country or northwest Arkansas right now, that indicates any kind of tornado. The only tornado warning out there is the one out there towards McAllister. Right now, it's pretty sticky already too. It's in the 80s. By the way, this is visible satellite. So cool to see as the sun sets. You can kind of see the shadows with the overshooting tops. Love it. Amazing to see, isn't it? It's 83 in Fayetteville. What are we, 86? I need reading glasses. 80, 86, 88. I don't know. I can't see. I can't see. I can't hear. These are only my mid to late 40s. What happens when you get into your 60s and 70s? Y'all, I'm scared. Anyway, so we'll see what happens to these storms later on tonight. I'll be keeping an eye on. I'm probably going to jump on here when these things move through. So I'll do a weather update, even if they're not severe. It's still, we just came out of really bad storms all over the place, and dozen tornadoes across the area. So still kind of a heightened sense of weather awareness out there. And I'll jump on and talk a little bit about them this evening. I do expect it to be over pretty quick. I don't think it lasts past midnight. That severe window is really just there from about 9:15, 9:30 to about 11:30, somewhere in there. I think 10 o'clock is probably right smack dab in the middle, lining up and down from Bentonville and Rogers back through Fort Smith and then into southeast Oklahoma. Pretty good north-south line with this thing. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. Again, overnight complex after complex after complex is going to give all of us a complex by the end of the week and the weekend. I do think the days are going to start off pretty soggy here coming up for Thursday, maybe even Friday. And I do think Saturday as well. So the first part of the day is really where that higher risk of rain is going to be. And then any afternoon development that pops up is also going to give us a chance of some stronger storms. But these overnight complexes tend to have a real good push of wind on them. They also get those spin up tornadoes in the leading edge. They're typically the weaker ones, the EF0, EF1s. A tornado is a tornado. You don't want to minimize it, but they're not the storms that produce those big EF3 tornadoes or EF4 or anything like that. So they're typically a lot weaker, although they can. I mean, never say never to Arkansas brother, right? So that's what's going on weather-wise. I'll be back on here a little bit later as that line gets a little bit closer, but that's what it looks like as of right now, coming up on 7:51 on this June 3rd. See you guys back later.